To start with, we'll have two equal combatants. They have the same amount of combat points and the same equipment. Combat points are the total amount of points as seen on the green bar here on each of these tokens that you use between attack and defense during the round. You can also use them to take other actions, but for this demonstration it will just be attack and defense. To start things out, we'll need to determine who goes first. Turn order is determined by a derived attribute called reflex. To roll reflex, you can open the sheet and click on the RF button. We'll go ahead and roll that. So, John rolls a 7 on his reflex. For Frank, we'll simply roll the 2d6 down here. Frank got a 6 on his reflex. So, John goes first. John moves forward, and he's going to attack Frank with 5 combat points. I'm going to roll down here on this roll plus, type in the modifier. John rolled a 13. When you use combat points, you can subtract them from the bubble here, but of course, you don't have to if you want to just remember it in your head or you're at a table. Now Frank will go ahead and defend with 7 combat points and see if he can beat that 13. Okay, Frank wildly succeeds. So if you win in the first half of the round, then you can either make a follow-up attack or retaliate if you're defending. In this case, Frank was defending, so now he can make a follow-up attack, or he can retaliate. As he used 7 combat points, he can now retaliate with his remaining 3 combat points, which he will do. He will thrust again to the chest. Okay, and now John will defend with his remaining 5 points. Okay, John successfully defends, and we have a standoff. As the first round, John has parried Frank, and Frank has parried John. At the top of the round, combat points refresh, and we go at it again. As John won the last exchange, he is now taking the initiative. He's now the aggressor, and he can now attack Frank. For the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to do a little bit extreme here. John's going to attack with 9 of his combat points, and he's going to attack Frank. Well, John rolled very badly and got a 12. Frank is feeling real cocky, and he's going to only spend 2 combat points to defend himself. Okay, Frank fails, which is to be expected. Because of this, John lands a hit. Now, John's damage is equal to his weapon damage, which for an arming sword, which is what they have, is equal to 2 damage, plus his strength. John and Frank both have plus 2 strength for the purpose of this demonstration, so that they can overcome the opponent's armor. Frank and John are both wearing leather armor, which gives them 2 damage reduction. So John does a total of 4 damage, 2 from the weapon, 2 from his strength. Frank takes 2 less damage from his armor, and John slashes him across the chest, and it cuts a little bit through the armor. Now Frank takes some wound penalties. As John succeeded in the last round, now John can follow up. He's going to use his last point and make an attack here for an 8. Frank will defend with the rest of his points and see what he gets. However, okay, Frank rolled a very well 19. Frank does subtract 2, but from his wound level, he has 2 wounds, so he will be at -2 for his total, so he's at 17. It is now a new round, and points refresh. Now at the top of the round, Frank has to roll blood loss versus the wounds he's taken. To do that, for a cutting wound, he rolls 1d6. If it meets or exceeds the wound total, then he does not suffer blood loss, otherwise he starts to bleed. Okay, in this case, Frank rolled a 4, which is higher than 2, so he does not suffer blood loss. Now Frank will take the initiative. He's going to attack John. Once again, he's going to be a little bit overconfident here, but this time he's going to be aggressive. He's going to throw 8 points into this. Okay, that's a 15 minus 2 is 13. Now we're going to demonstrate another option in combat, which is maneuvers. Maneuvers can be used for special things like disarming, tripping, countering, that sort of thing. In this case, John is going to use what's called a setup maneuver, so he takes -2 to his roll, and if he succeeds in beating Frank, he adds the margin of success to his follow-up attack. So John will use 9 of his points in the hopes of gaining the advantage here. Frank is at 13 and John is at 14. John wins by 1. Frank has 2 combat points left. John has 1 combat point left. John succeeded by 1 point. Because he used a setup maneuver, he can now add +1 to his follow-up attack. So this will be +2 total. For a 9, Frank will defend with his remaining 2 points. However, because he's got -2 from his wound, it's effectively +0. Okay, John lands a hit, which is a grazing blow. If you only succeed by 1 against your attack at the target, it simply scratches the target and is a grazing blow. It does not do damage. Okay, now we have the top of the round. John's going to follow up. He's a bit fed up, so now we're going to demonstrate something called targeted location attacks. John is going to go for Frank's head. He's going to do a thrusting attack. There are different modifiers depending on the different locations that you attack. In this instance, attacking the head is disadvantage, meaning you take 2 rolls and you use the worst of the 2 rolls. Here are some other possible locations you can attack. If you want to look at this video, all of these rules are in the drop box as well if you want to peruse them more in depth. So John is going to all out attack. He's going to use all of his combat points, going for the head. Okay, so he rolls twice, takes the lower of the results. He actually rolled quite good this time, and now Frank is feeling, again, way too chalky. He uses 5 points only to defend himself, hoping for the best here. Only gets a 9, -2 from his wound means he's at 7, which means John's margin of success is 12 over Frank. If you succeed by 5 or more on the attack, you do an extra d6 of damage. If you succeed by 10 or more on the attack, you do an extra d6 of damage, and that 6 is a minimum of a 3 if you roll low. You can see an example here of the different damage types that may happen. Okay, so John hits Frank. He rolls an extra d6 for damage. He also rolls an extra d6 for damage for a blow to the head. So he adds 1 more. He rolls very high. That's 10 damage. John does his weapon-based damage plus his strength, which is 4, plus 10 is 14 damage. Frank has 2 damage reduction, and in fact, his face is not covered at all. So John does 14 damage directly to Frank's head. As Frank does not have any extra toughness, any damage that is 10 or more total after damage reduction is automatically a killing blow. So John stabs his sword forward, it skewers Frank through the face, killing him instantly, and Frank collapses. Okay, that covers the basics, as well as there are also additional links to videos that have live play demonstrations, additional tutorial videos in this playlist. Thank you for watching.